This is the Spokane Soccer Show, and I am your certifiably independent podcast host, Benji Wade. On today's show, I spent so much time at one stadium last week that I literally started to drive there just now on my way to record this podcast, as Velocity FC are now in 6th place. Zephyr FC start their life in Super League with a scoreline of 1-1-1-1. Joining me to serve up only the best vibes about all things soccer in the fine city of Spokane. Welcome back to the show. It's my friends Jamie Bartlett of the 509 Syndicate and Scott Linklater of South Hill FC. Welcome back to the show, Jamie and Scott. How are you, my friends?
Tired.
It took me a super long time to set all this up.
He did. It was amazing. It was
great.
It was like Ratatouille making a spaghetti bowl right here with all the cords. It was quite fascinating.
Under my hat is the little rat who's just like pulling my hair.
Exactly.
Give me the updates, Jamie. Tell me about what's been happening. Life with the 509 Syndicate.
We've been busy. I mean, 3 marches to the match, 3 matches, lots of energy. So we're a little tired. It's been a busy week, but updates. So we're going to be back at it this coming weekend. And then I would say the big update for the 509, we just had our board meeting last night, just to add to our schedule, is that for our watch parties for away games, we sort of made a decision that weekend away games, we'll keep those watch parties at Hat Trick, our friends there who've been super supportive. So Friday, Saturday, any Sunday games that are away. And for weekdays, we're going with Zeke's Pizza over on Hamilton because they've also been excellent in supporting us.
Right.
That's awesome. I haven't actually been there. I missed that one. But
solid pizza.
That last Hat Trick one that I went to was so fun.
It was fun.
They're great. Yeah.
That was a blast.
It's a soccer bar.
It's a soccer bar, and it felt, because of the intimacy and the size of the place, it felt like being in an outsized living room with all of your 100%. Best friends. I was just like, man.
Yeah, with a bar.
Vibes for
days. with taps and pretzels. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that was actually the first time I had been there, sadly, embarrassingly. Maybe I shouldn't admit that.
At all?
Yeah.
Oh, rad.
I hadn't made it over there yet. And folks had said early on, well, it's kind of small. Yeah, it's not one of the huge breweries in town, but it's perfect, I think, for that.
I think it's perfect. Yeah. Plus, they have an outside area now. They've expanded out to the outside. It's really nice for just chilling before the game, after the game, whatever.
How is your bevy launch doing?
The bevy launch is going great. Thank you for asking. And that was my next note on here. Thanks for everybody who turned up to Flat Stick for the launch of the Double Pivot Pub Ale. The good news is it's on a handle now. I can't say permanent, even though I love to say that, but it's on there. It's going to be on there a while. So
cool.
I've had it before, and I was talking to Michael from Wildland, and he said that it does settle after time, and then it'll probably take on a new flavor profile. But I really enjoyed my on tap version of it down at Flat Stick. Scott, give me your updates about South Hill FC. What's been happening, my man?
So a couple weeks ago, we got to take 46 South Hill folks to the Omaha game, which was a ton of fun. So 46 South Hill folks got to go, and we kind of congregated in the other far stands, and just a great time. A lot of families that maybe wouldn't otherwise go.
That's awesome.
So that was very, very, very cool. Just still playing on Sundays, 3 p.m. Still having 60 to 80 people up there playing 3 full games, and it's kind of bananas. A couple came that came the first year we started in 2014, and they came last weekend, and they're like, "Oh my God, what's happened?"
Amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing, and it's also really chaotic now. It's like a party, because there's a speaker going, and people bring out chicken and beer, and like afterwards we all stand around, and it's fun. So even if you don't play, you're welcome to come and join the party afterwards at about 4:30 to 5. Yeah.
Did you both catch the news? I just have to ask this. I did not tease you with this topic at all. That ESPN, their announcement about how they're going to cover NWSL and PLL, which is the Premier Lacrosse League. Yeah. Did you hear about this news of what they're going to do to cover those?
Is this the AI?
Yeah.
I heard about it because did you hear what happened with their test run with Alex Morgan?
Go, you tell the story.
Yeah, so Alex Morgan, big retirement match this weekend on Sunday. And apparently the story that ESPN wrote with this doesn't even mention once Alex Morgan.
It doesn't.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No.
Yeah. The summary. So what it's going to do is match summaries for the NWSL and the Premier Lacrosse League. This is their way of showing that they support those sports. Is to say, we're going to use generative AI. And they issued a press release to say that they're going to do this and how AI is getting a bad rap.
Is it April 1st? No.
Yeah. It was so hard to take seriously. Like ESPN is the most self-owning media company left in the world of like traditional media companies. I swear. It's unbelievable. Along those lines, talking about media and the coverage of the women's game specifically, a little disappointed with the rollout of how Super League games are being covered. There's no statistical information available on any website except for the USL's own Super League site. And the Super League site, to be clear, has a lot of information on it. I realize they're not an app company like FootMob, like SofaScore, but I really hope we start to see some more information. Not that I know I can bore people with some of the really goofy details of like how many clearances a player had, blah, blah, blah. But some of that information does begin to tell a story, and you can't actually tell a proper story about how a team's doing if you can't see information. So I really hope that the Super League will get on top of that. I saw them make an announcement about and that you'll find this funny, given what we were just talking about. They said that they really hope to see stats and information on websites like ESPN soon. I'm like, ESPN has never had useful information about soccer games at all. So they need to work with FootMob. They need to work with SofaScore because those are the only two outlets that I'm aware of.
There's different ways to do it than obviously AI summarize games that are just garbage. Just call it what it is. I mean, that's a garbage summary.
Well, and if you don't realize what this could mean for listeners who are not super following and tracking the whole generative AI conversation, there are working journalists who are struggling to pay rent right now. They're struggling to buy groceries. Their stories are going to get consumed by these language models. That's all it is. Calling it AI, I've always been bothered by that. We need to define what we mean by AI because it makes it sound like some sentient, really clever thing that's kind of doing something autonomously. What's happening is that large volumes of information, textual, photographic, video information, is being scrubbed from the internet and being poured into these language models and then fed back to people with no credit to the original source. So all these writers who have said many things about San Diego Wave, their words, their ideas are getting gobbled up by these scummy companies who are then feeding it back to consumers without paying the journalist.
Yeah. And it loses soul. I mean, if you think about, I went home on Sunday to watch the Wave game because I knew it was Alex Moore, and we had a Zephyr game, so I had to miss it live, but I recorded it and went back to watch it for that very reason, right? And so if you're reporting on that game, that's clearly a pivotal moment, even though she came out in the 13th minute.
It's the moment. Let's just be real. That's the
Wave
moment.
lost by a lot.
She missed a penalty.
And she missed a penalty, but we're going to ignore that, right? We can talk about, her impact on the game, and that should be part of the story. And also there was soccer played.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I think I don't struggle with AI. I can tell you as a professor, immediately when a student turns in something that was written by AI, immediately
you can tell.
Because it's just terrible.
It's utterly voiceless.
It is voiceless.
Yeah, it's an instruction manual. You read an instruction manual.
Yeah.
You know who is
a really bad one.
You know who is happy that Alex Morgan missed the penalty? Megan Rapinoe, right?
Yeah.
Because she missed the last penalty. So now it's like, hey, it's okay because these two big stars missed the last. It's a thing now. So now it's a thing. Everybody's okay with it now. You know?
Speaking of it, she had a great
career. She had a great career though.
Well, and soccer's not a sport like basketball. So what did Kobe do in his final game? That the Lakers just kept giving him the ball and letting him launch it from 50 feet over and over again.
Yeah,
soccer's not like that.
No.
You could try that and it would backfire instantly because the other team would be like, "Oh, cool! So this is what we're going to do all the game."
Yeah.
Anyways, it doesn't always end like you want it to, but we don't have time to get into it on this podcast because this is local Spokane soccer. However, it is impossible to measure Alex Morgan's impact on the women's game.
Heck yeah.
Go read some things. Yeah. I'm sure she's got a book or two out there. Ready for the second installment ever of the Spokane Soccer Show shout-outs. I did give you a homework assignment. I waited until you were on your way down here to do it. I will do a couple, and if any come to mind.
I got some. No,
good. Excellent. Fantastic. Let's go. Here we go. I'm so excited about this one. Shout out to friend of the pod, 17-year-old Savvy Briseño for committing to Eastern Washington's soccer program. She will be playing there next fall. The backstory on this is that Savvy and her mother, Danielle, were two of the first people to follow the Spokane Soccer Show on Instagram. They mean a lot to me because they were super supportive, reaching out, engaging with all the content early on. And then they were guests of the Spokane Soccer Show at the Gonzaga versus Santa Clara game last October. Super, super cool people. So excited for her.
Go Eagles.
She plays for Spokane Shadow. So congratulations to you, Savvy Briseño. What else do I have? I have a shout out for sophomore Emily Todd from Gonzaga women's soccer program. She had her first ever goal in Gonzaga's 3-0 win over UIC in Chicago. And she grew up here in Spokane and played all her soccer high school for North Central. So a kind of I guess somewhat rare. There's a few kids that came from the Spokane market that are on the Gonzaga team, but it's typically weighted toward kids from out of market. Abby Cecilia is from Spokane. I'm going to forget some people. Obviously, Chelsea Lee and her sister Kaya, before she transferred, are from Spokane. But yeah, anytime one of our own does something, we got to shout them out. So shout out Emily Todd. She almost scored a goal against Kansas in that game. She was in exactly the right place that you want to be as a forward, made a run across the box and received a ball that was squared and just like hit it right over the bar. But it was like, it's going to come. And it came in the next game. So shout out. And that's what I have for shout outs. What do you have? You want to go first, Jamie?
Go ahead.
I've got two. So I was thinking about it on the drive over. The first one, if you've noticed, our goat feeding, his level has been up, like the quality of the video has been pretty good. So shout out to Jed Dima.
Oh, Jed.
This is his day job and he's doing it for us for free. And so the quality's a lot better.
Fellow classically trained filmmaker, Jed, which I didn't realize until we ran into each other because I was kind of like,
he's kind of chill about it.
I was like, your game, you've got some filmmaking game. What's up? And he's like, oh yeah, I went to film school and blah, blah, blah. I've been doing this my whole career. I was like, okay, you can see it.
Yeah.
Love
so those videos are just, it used to be just us wearing a mask, putting the logo in. So the quality's getting there.
I know. And the worst one ever was with me because we didn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's me.
Benji walks up.
That's because it was me with a phone.
Like, blah, blah, blah. And people were like, oh God,
this guy.
Get to the point.
I mean, we get some politicians in there too. So
that's true. They're
never that exciting. But
any others?
I wanted to add one. I was thinking about shout out Heidi Burgett. So from U.S. Soccer, she attended the first Zephyr game.
Yes. Nice.
So a friend from my hometown and college. So we went to both together. She was starting goalkeeper for University of Colorado.
Nice.
And got a dream job at U.S. Soccer after being at Nike forever. And so she made it a point to come out to the opening Zephyr game. Kind of on behalf of herself, but also with U.S. Soccer to sort of show, I think, U.S. Soccer support of this league, which I thought was really cool. So shout out Heidi.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, she did like a 24-hour trip here.
Scott, do you have a shout out?
Yeah, I have three. So first is the international potluck, which happened a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
The winner of that, Abdu, is from Iraq, and he made Iraqi. This is sour rice, and he ran away with it and won the trophy.
Nice.
So shout out to Abdu for winning the potluck.
Yeah.
Second one, a kid, and he's not a kid anymore, he's an adult, but he's been playing South Hill since he was a kid. His name's Ali, and now he's well into adulthood, and he's worked his way up and is now a referee, and referees, well, Pac-12. I don't know what Pac-12 or Pac-2 or whatever it is now.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's worked his way up into upper level college refereeing and is going to continue on with his career. So props to him, Ali. Shout out to you. And then the third one is Blaze, a kid that's been I always say kid. They're all kids to me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's been playing for a long time from Congo.
This is an old person's podcast. Sorry about that.
Are we all over 40?
Oh yeah.
Ish. Yeah. Not ish at all. It's
all right. Settle down. Too much information.
Blaze. Shout out to Blaze. So Blaze was a player. He's from Congo. He been playing a long time with us. A good friend of South Hill. Got his degree in engineering. He just got an engineering job. So shout out to Blaze.
Shout out Blaze.
Yeah.
Yes.
Success to all those guys. Abdu, Ali, and Blaze. Shout out to you.
And if you didn't know, Scott has brought this up in the past, but our cappy for the 509 Syndicate, Andres, has been playing South Hill FC since he was a teenager.
15. Yeah.
Dude, unbelievable.
Seriously, since he was this high. Yeah.
And he is not 15 anymore.
He is not 15.
He's
not in his 40s, but.
And I will shout out to Andres for his bicycle kick. Earlier on this year, he had a great bicycle goal.
Wow.
In a game. Yeah.
I need video.
He'll tell you all.
My life.
He'll describe it to you in great detail. Don't worry. Just ask him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to get into the heart of the matter. Obviously, an enormous week for our two professional soccer clubs here in Spokane. I want to check in on the overall thoughts of both of you about, I haven't chatted with you in a while about season ticket renewals are coming up. We did get water in the stadium. There's some topics that we should check in on about overall vibe check on the situation with having a couple professional clubs to cheer for every week in Spokane. You want to go first, Scott?
Yeah. So, great water station. Fantastic. Love the water station. Big fan of that. Have used it nonstop since it showed up. The first time I used it was at the Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan concert.
Oh, yeah.
Which should have been at 4 p.m. because all those dudes are like 90 years old. I mean, that's how, but it was fun. So used it then and then just used it a ton. So thanks to the facilities or whoever put those in. Great time. And then vibe check. I mean, it feels like it's kind of settling into this is an established thing now versus a new thing, right? It's sort of through that honeymoon phase.
Yep.
And now we're into the establishment. And certainly this last week where we had 3 games in 1 week, I mean, that's pretty incredible for any city, right? But for us to have 3 games in 1 week was a very cool thing. And it was a lot, right? By the end of the week, people were like, oh man, I got to go to work tomorrow. I got to go to school tomorrow, things like that. And so
it's true.
I don't think that'll happen very often.
The 3 games in 1 week.
Would you imagine that?
We have another couple double headers.
But double headers, yeah, Saturday, Sunday.
That's going to be a thing.
Yeah, I feel like double headers are a little bit easier. That third one, you're getting to like, okay, now I got to go, like get myself worked up for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did feel that from the crowd on Sunday, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have more thoughts on that.
I had thoughts on Sunday as well.
Go, Jamie. Yeah.
Well, I agree. I think we are kind of hitting a little bit of this is soccer. We're becoming a soccer city, right? People, not everyone. I still have some people go, where? Yeah. What? Where's this?
Every time we do the march, there's new people who are like, what is this?
Yeah. So then there's a part of me that's like, how long have you lived here? What's going on? But there's many folks who are like, we're doing this. But it can be exhausting when you have that much. And I do think we're kind of also hitting, school just went back, right? This week, I think, for... I don't know, those with little kids.
Public school started this last weekend.
Yeah, so I think there was a little bit of exhaustion all around for folks.
Literally Wednesday was back to school for a lot of kids.
So I think people could feel that. And then I don't know if we want to get into the Sunday attendance and the drop off with Zephyr, but makes me nervous a little bit that Zephyr being sort of the last in that lineup every week. So when you look at our double headers, it goes Velocity, Zephyr, Velocity, Zephyr.
I thought about that too.
And I feel like Zephyr's getting a little shafted because we even heard it from 509 folks where they're like, with a 6 o'clock game, I need to get my kid in bed for school on Monday.
Yep.
And so, if you stay for the whole game, you're there until probably 8, maybe you're home by 8:30 and, kids are ramped up and you're trying to get them to sleep. And so I'm a little nervous for that. And I'm a little nervous that Zephyr attendance will suffer. If people are like, well, I already went to a game. I went to the Velocity game. You're like, but it's different.
I brought my daughter Ivy and her friend Greta to the game. And for that reason, I wasn't going to be able to do the post-game thing anyways. And I might not, for other reasons, do them moving forward. We'll see.
Curious.
Yeah, it's a story. But I was like, I can't. There's no way I'm going to stick around here for an extra 45 minutes just to check in and talk to coach and the players, even though I would have loved to. But it's hard to be in the third game of have 3 games at home. And you're right. Even if it were just back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday, it would have been like a big ask to be like, I'm going to stick around here until 9 o'clock on a school night with my kids. And a lot of people go to those games with their kids.
Yep.
It has been a very family-friendly experience for people in Spokane. So, all right, let's take a quick break. When we return, we're going to talk about the 2-game homestand for Velocity FC that took them to 6th place in the League One table. This episode of the Spokane Soccer Show is brought to you by Feast World Kitchen. If you know, you know. If you don't know, I'm about to tell you. Think authentic, mouth-watering cuisine from all over the world delivered to your mouth right here in downtown Spokane. Here's the part you might not have known. Feast is a nonprofit that effectively creates chef entrepreneurs by offering a bunch of programs where immigrants and former refugees learn career skills, earn income from their food sales, and build connections in the community. Quick sidebar, I still have daydreams about the beef sambusas and the spicy jollof rice that we had during the AFCON watch party in January. But don't take my word for it. Head down to Feast World Kitchen on 3rd Avenue, follow them on Instagram, or go to their website at feastworldkitchen.org. Okay, here we go, folks. Huge news. For the first time virtually all season for Velocity FC, we are now outperforming our XG. Jamie, can you remind our listeners what XG means?
Oh, yeah. Happy to. So if you can't remember, just X is for expected, G is for goals. So it's a mathematical model. I haven't actually looked at how validated the process of scoring these things are, but theoretically, it's somewhere you're on a pitch. If you take a shot on goal, what is the likelihood that it would go in? So if you're standing on the 6-yard line, that little box right in front of the goalkeeper, and you get the ball, you should have a really high, close to 1 chance to score versus if you're near the midline and you take a big banger of a shot. That's a low percentage shot. So
and there's different
summation of that.
Yeah, and there's different variations of it. There's post, shot, X goal. There's all these different things. Now I think
they're taking an angle. I think you thought trig wasn't going to be part of your life, but I think they're somehow adding the angle of the shot, which is fair.
And it is subjective because it is a human being who's sitting down and making a decision after how much time and attention are they paying, especially no shade, but like League One soccer, et cetera, they may not be the most scientific, because sometimes I'll look at the XG figures and go, wait, that actually doesn't totally vibe with what I saw. In fact, there was a question that'll come up in the Central Bay of Fuego game, but we are outperforming our XG in the game against Omaha. Final score, Velocity 2, Omaha 1. We had 3,450 people in attendance for that game in midweek on a Wednesday, back to school. I thought that was super impressive. So we'll start there as far as the whole topic of attendance in these 3 games goes. I did post a video to Instagram. This is a great reminder to some people that I've ran into that will hear me say on the podcast, hey, be sure to follow us on Instagram. And they don't really know what that means because maybe they're not Instagram people, but it actually means you're missing out on unique content. I update tons of things to Instagram that never make it into the podcast, including this 90-second takedown of Union Omaha and all the pissing and moaning that their supporters did after the game.
The Omaha Steaks.
Yeah. So if you want to check in on that content, you should do that. But yeah, we got outperformed in XG in this game. I mean, to me, I have like a thought that in general, beating Omaha is fun because they are some of the most entitled snivelers in the entire league. Nobody more so than their head coach, Dom Casiato. He likes to whine when his team loses and blame everybody but himself. He'll blame the refs. He'll blame the opposing team. Good manager, but just kind of a crybaby. That team also likes to flop around a lot, so I just kind of like to make fun of them. I'll never forget the moment where this winger that they took on loan from Chicago Fire just rolled around in the box after taking barely a touch from Ahmed Longmire, but he sold it and the ref bought it. And, you know, after he finished rolling 13 more times, he got up and slotted home a penalty. So that totally sucked. So I just have feelings about Omaha. But the final XG on that game was Omaha 2.5, Spokane 0.5. And we still managed to win the game. Next up, 3 short days later, Velocity 3, Central Valley Fuego 2. This game was in front of 3,100 people at one stadium in Spokane. So, Scott, I'm going to ask you, do you have, can you give me the broad strokes of what occurred in that game?
Yeah. So from my perspective, sat in normal seats up in 206, watched the game fully. And what was really cool about that game, there's a couple cool parts. Luis Gil, second game in a row where he almost had a hustle goal. Yep. Where he stole the ball on a back pass and dribbled around. He didn't make the second hustle shot, but he's hustling. Where does Joan play?
He's been playing on the left as a kind of a wing back role. So Wiedmann's been doing a little bit of a Antonio Conte inspired, not necessarily inspired, but it looks a little bit like a 3-4-3 at times with wing backs, and I guess that was Marcos Alonso that played on the left for Chelsea back in the day. So he's playing a kind of a wing back. And then it's interesting because Derek's been sent out to the right, even though he's left footed. And it's at times I've been a little bit like where Derek's wasted out there because that sweet left foot.
And he had a lot of success being on the left side. So with the Fuego game, there are some hustle plays. Azrael Gonzalez gets his first goal, right? Is this his first goal?
His second goal in 3 games, actually.
Second goal in 3 games, but a nice kind of breakaway goal. He did have another goal in which he had Doling off to the right. He could have dropped it off and they probably would have got one early, but still have beef with Doling's hustle, right? Just call it what it is. There's just not a lot of hustle coming. If you watch those plays over and over again, there's a couple of times where he could have made runs to opposite sides. He comes in late, and maybe that's his goal, is to come in late and shoot from the top of the box. But at times there's other players that are out hustling and creating chances. Joan, Luis Gil, Andre Lewis, who's probably, in my opinion, the best player in the team right now. I know that's argued with Luis Gil, but he's the best all-around player from box to box. I mean, he's everywhere and he's making plays. And if you watch Gonzalez's goal, that's an Andre Lewis. Yep. You know, that's Andre Lewis all day that created that. And so he's playing really good right now. And so focusing in on the offense, I still like to see more hustle from Doling or movement, cuts to the ball, cuts to the off. So you have the opposite side of the field, and multiple times there's openings where he could have ran. And even if he doesn't get the ball, he's dragging a defender that's opening up someone from the backside. I know I'm just harping on about this, but this is something that's been perpetual.
He did not have a great week. I mean, I think that's putting it mildly. Like, there not many shots. not many chances created.
And no hustle. That's the part
Use
that
that big
kills
body
me.
and get up there and start moving.
Yeah.
He's so big and strong.
Yeah.
Bang somebody, move someone around.
I would like to see that a little more.
Yeah, so those are the kind of the takeaways. Great win. I think the expected goals for Fuego. I don't know what the expected goals was for Fuego.
This was a weird one that and some other people, when I posted the XG, were like, how is that even possible? Because Luis Hill had that one play where blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it finished 1.7 for Spokane, 2.2 for Central Valley Fuego. Central Valley Fuego, keep in mind, had 26 shots.
And a lot of them inside the box. I mean, they were like inside the box. There was a couple of instances in which they probably could have or should have scored earlier on. And then they had one offsides. They had a couple of crosses. Our goalkeeper played fantastic in that game. I thought he had a couple stops in that particular game.
I like the mismatch, though. Our back line is so tall.
Yes.
And Fuego's front is so not.
Yes.
There was a joke on Discord about the formation for Central Valley Fuego. Somebody read their record this season and mistook it for a formation from a game because it was like 3-5 something. And I was like, actually, there were points in that game. They were a 0-9-1. Like, it was pretty much waves of midfielders. Their front six, and then sometimes their defenders would join. And it was like, there's like one, they were just begging Spokane to counter them. And they did over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind, of the 26 shots, 5 on target for Central Valley Fuego, 10 shots for Velocity, 6 on target. So it was that one. It wasn't like the Omaha game. Omaha, I definitely felt like we kind of got away with a game because if Omaha finishes their clear chances, they win that game. But you can't say it's lucky. You don't finish your chances. It's not luck.
No,
it's not a lack of luck. You just got to finish your chances. Scott, you had a note about Ish Jome. I definitely think he had his best game in the shirt.
Definitely.
And the numbers.
And hustled. He had a couple of hustle plays where he's working hard.
10 recoveries.
Props.
10 recoveries, 6 duels, 2 tackles to go with his goal. And you mentioned the difference between Andre Lewis and Luis Hill about who's playing the best right now, or who's the best player in the team. Honestly, it's 1-1A, and it could go either direction. But they have clearly, to me, been the most influential players in the team. As far as our attack, I still think Ahmed is our most important defensive player. But Brooks Thompson is becoming clearly invaluable because he saved 2 points for Velocity in that game. 94th minute. Saves it in the bottom right corner. And it's like,
save.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, I just looked and I even said to Lee after the game, I was like, that was a 2-point save. And he was like, it was. He was also like, we should not be giving up a shot like that in the 94th minute. Back to the Luis Hill and Andre Lewis point. It started in the NOCO game, the first time that Lee ran with the back three. And it was, I think he started that in the second half. Ever since then, that tandem, that duo has looked like, I just kept thinking they look like a couple pickup basketball players that have just been playing for years together, just running pick and roll and running bets on the side with dudes at a local park. And
you insert Cam, you insert Cam Miller into that. Now he scored a couple goals.
Well, now it's the Derek Waldeck to Cam Miller's head tandem. So love it. What else notes I have here? 270 completed passes. We had 45% possession in the game against Central Valley Fuego. And guess what? That was almost identical stats to our game versus Omaha. So that's a very different look. 275 passes. We're usually like in the 500, 450 pass range. So it's a different look for Wiedemann. And with this back three, recently anyways, and I'm wondering if it's just a little bit of a tactical mentality approach of, look, let's get results no matter what at this end of the season. We've got 6-7 games left, and we're now in the thick of it for the playoffs. And now we're in a really, really comfortable position. A couple shout outs are due because I do think things are about to get interesting. Anwar Pelaez made his first appearance. If you have forgotten that name, because I don't think I've mentioned Anwar Pelaez on this podcast, he was signed in early August, and it's taken until now for him to make his first appearance off of the bench as a substitution with like 6 minutes left to go in the game, I think. Anwar Pelaez is a Colombian-born striker. He played for Oakland Roots last year. He scored a bunch of goals for them in sometimes limited minutes. He would come off the bench and be that kind of difference maker, the little spark in the 70th, 80th minute. And anytime a striker shows capability of scoring in those situations. It's like, okay, this is a natural goal scorer. Really exciting for us. I think that's been something that we've wanted in the team, is some more forwards that can score goals. 31 years old, I believe, so he's experienced. Yeah.
And I think he got a handle of one of them and almost scored, right?
He did. He had a shot.
Because I remember thinking, like, who's that? Who's that guy? Oh, it's that guy.
I immediately, there's this thing that can happen if you've watched soccer enough, that you see a player on ball for just a couple minutes and their movement, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Definitely looks very different. Not a type of player that we've had in this team yet. So
100%.
I'm excited about that. Azrael Gonzalez, shout out, second goal in 3 games. Shout out Brooks Thompson, we mentioned, huge save in the 94th minute. And shout out Mikey Rojas, who is no longer on the injury list.
Hey.
So
I'm
hopefully,
excited about that.
Yeah, I'm guessing that he's just some match fitness away from being named to the subs. I don't think he would go straight into the starting lineup.
They had him out on the halftime at Zephyr golfing, so
yeah, exactly.
I was like,
that's a great sign. Yeah.
Guess you're healthy.
This was the Saturday game. On Wednesday, there was the normal camera crews and all the local media. On Saturday, it was me and the kind of backup reporter from the Spokesman Review. That's all that showed up for the media after the game. I thought that was noteworthy. I could read Lee Wiedman's body language of like, oh, no cameras, huh? And I was like, yeah, college football's back. There's a game in Pullman. There's a game in Cheney. And yeah, it's also the second game in 3 days. So yeah, just something to keep an eye on.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, here we go, fall.
Here we go, fall. Okay, let's take a break. When we return, we'll talk about Zephyr FC's second ever game against Brooklyn FC. The Spokane Soccer Show is supported by Spokane City Credit Union. Are you a customer at a big dumb bank? Well, stop it. At a bank, you're just a customer. At a credit union, you're a member and a shareholder. You can help make decisions about what the credit union does do or doesn't do. Banks just want to get bigger by swallowing up smaller banks one at a time until there's only 1 or 2 banks left. Nobody wants that. Well, except for big banks. Since 1934, Spokane City Credit Union has remained independent, relevant, and local, with a focus on the financial needs of individuals and families in Spokane City. Go to sccu.net. Spokane City Credit Union, serving Spokane one member at a time. Zephyr FC won. Brooklyn FC won. 2,150 people came back for the third time in the week to watch that game. I had to take a minute to think about this. First, I was a little circumspect about it all, but then talking to some other people that are really into the Super League and USL in general, and it was like, that's pretty impressive.
Heck yeah.
That for the third game in a week's time with, Sunday night football, you had all the college football. People did a lot of things in the Inland Northwest market over this week, between back to school, between the game in Pullman, the game in Cheney. I'm forgetting some games, I'm sure.
The fair.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Because
The fair's a big one too.
Yeah.
Ivy's friend had come from the fair and she was like exhausted.
Yeah.
So forgot about the fair. There you go. So I actually think it's a pretty damn good number to get that many people to show up on a Sunday night. But we did feel a little bedraggled as a crowd. I will say that until the second half. But I'm not going to get into that yet because Jamie, I want you to tell me, it's your turn to shine here. What happened?
Well, we got a point. So that's big, right? We should have had 3.
We should have had 3.
Yeah.
Tell me why that happened.
For our second game, we gave it away in the end.
We did.
And I think that's unfortunate. And I think the crowd felt it. I think the team felt it too. But
I heard many an F-bomb after that game.
Yeah. And there's all the questionable things, reffing, this and that and the other, but we let it go. And so a point feels a little disappointing.
We should not have needed the controversial call. Again, Instagram. If you are not following the Spokane Soccer Show on Instagram, you're making a mistake with your life because I posted that moment. It was very controversial and it was absolutely a penalty.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't have required that to get 3 points from the game.
No.
It was the 87th minute, but I'm already getting ahead of myself.
It shouldn't get down to that, right? We should have had probably a couple more. But to be fair, Brooklyn hit the post on one that probably could have gone in. So
that was wild.
We got a little lucky on that. They had a few ballers out there.
They definitely did.
Yep. And but we got the point and we scored a goal and run a play. And so that's always a nice little we can prove that we do that instead of just penalties. So
tell me about that goal. What did you see on that one?
It was interesting because right before that, Risu scored it. primarily had been playing really wide. So we were playing an interesting style to start off. It was very possession in the back line. The back line I thought looked really good. I think their chemistry and movement.
Way better than the first game.
Yeah, they looked really solid. Those back four look great. I mean, I know Murray does a lot of these runs and stuff, and you're like, are you a midfielder? What are you?
And I thought she was way improved over the first game.
Yes.
Some of that jitters of like, am I a fullback?
So. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I am a fullback.
Are you? What are you?
She looked like a fullback yesterday.
Yeah, and I thought she played great. Canales is becoming one of my favorites. She's just a little pit bull.
Totally.
She was started out in the pivot, I think, kind of playing that 6. At least
she did. I'm not sure the story.
I don't know if she stayed there, but
I don't know where Taylor Almer was. Not on the injury report. Did not. I didn't see her at the game
she
at
had
all.
Started, I would say, at the 6 in the first game.
She did. Yep.
So they had Vigiano.
They did.
Pushed up.
Natalie Vigiano. Yep. Was there with Sophie Brunn.
Yeah.
And Vigiano is, I think, by inclination, reputation, a little bit more of that 10. That you'd expect more of her to be in that 10 role.
She looked comfortable there. Yep. I thought. So I thought the lineup was good. Backline looked good. And then you had the wingers playing really wide, or at least Reese was. I don't know if Ekich was, but
both by their starting position and where they kind of finished up, they were both pretty wide the whole game.
And what's interesting about that goal, it was Ekich who kind of drove in. I would have liked to seen a little bit more play in those half spaces. I like going wide. I'm a winger, like by nature, so I love hugging the sideline. I play better that way.
Yeah.
I don't like anything behind me, but you have to make that drive in. And what Reese was doing prior to that goal was going end line, cutting back, and then just giving away a pass. And so what's interesting about that goal is Ekich had finally driven in, and really a defender error let the ball through, and Reese was there to pick it up. So to her credit, she finished.
The defender had a swing and a miss moment.
Yeah, so that it was a little bit of luck on our side.
It kind of was. Yeah.
But Reese is in the right spot and finished. Like we were just talking about XG. That's a high XG goal, but you also have to finish when all of a sudden the ball's at your feet. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that sounds like that seems easy to people to have a ball coming through, whipping through, and particularly if someone misses it right in front of you, it makes it even more difficult because
you think it's going somewhere else.
Yeah,
totally.
You're not necessarily prepared to hit it where how she hit it, and it was a swing and a miss, but I mean those crosses like that. I mean she hit it perfect distance from the goal out far enough from the keeper. So props.
Ekich did a lot of the work. I won't say all the work, but a lot of the work on that. Because what she did instead of going end line was she drove in to that space, which we just seem to be ignoring that lane for some reason. And then I think, and that's why I wanted to see a little bit more. It felt like we were pushing a little bit more there. I felt like we were playing a possession game and then giving up the pass in midfield, either a bad pass
100%
somewhere. And so
where the back line, I think, was sloppy in the first game with passing, a lot of jitters. I've even talked to Sydney about that. She's like, yeah, we were all just kind of like, oh my gosh, we have to actually play a game now.
Yeah, fair.
But this game, I think it was the midfield that had just way too many giveaways. Yeah,
and they, to their credit, they would come back into the ball.
And recover,
And they recovered really, really well, but you shouldn't be giving those balls away. And it actually made me think of when you coach, right? You often start, okay, in the season, we're going to start with building out of the back. And then we're going to do to here. And then we're going to work on finishing. And I'm like, is this where we are in the stage? It's like the back line is doing well. And now we got to work on the midfield and finish those passes. And then the last half of the season, our finishing is going to be solid. It almost feels like the coaching strategy is working that direction. Yeah.
My brain is overwhelmed right now because there's so many things about this game that I want to talk about and this team because I'm excited.
I am excited.
Really
the talent
excited.
Is incredible.
Dude,
very incredible.
After leaving the stadium,
it's fun to watch.
I have this, I always do the emotional read first, just like when I watch a movie. And then I do the intellectual thing later. The emotional read was, I was so effing pissed off.
Yeah.
At not only the conceding the penalty, naughty from Izzy. You cannot. We're going to get to the penalty, I realize. But and then the no call, I was so mad. And then I ran into Sydney, and Sydney was so mad. And so I left the stadium just really mad. But then I watched the game on replay, and I was like, holy shit, I liked so much about what I was seeing. And I don't think we have much to worry about. Because guess what?
It's going to get there.
We also have reinforcements on the way. Our 3 international players who have not joined the team yet, 2 of them were there. I saw the 2 Quebecois players, Wayne Balata and Julien Valorand. They were on the bench. So I was like, they weren't dressed in street clothes, but still, it's like, oh, they're going to join training. And then we're going to have more reinforcements for that midfield because I do think there's a little bit of there's going to be some experimentation. There's so many midfielders on this team. But I want to talk about the wide play because the note that I have about the 7-11, the 2 wingers, is that they can literally do whatever they want at any point in the game. The problem in this game was they were so wide that we were having a hard time getting the ball to them. Brooklyn overloaded the midfield. They were playing very narrow, and they were depriving our midfield with that outlet pass to find those wingers. And sometimes, do you know how that goal was scored? Our first goal? I'm pretty sure if it wasn't a fullback, it was just a moment of a kind of a lapse where clearly Brooklyn was trying to cut off those passing lanes to get down the channels to those wingers. Because Amina didn't touch the ball until basically we scored the goal. I think it might have been her first or second touch on the ball. And I got a video of the goal, and I was saying, and you can hear it on my cell phone, I was like, oh, this is interesting. That's like the first time Amina's touched the ball.
Yeah, we were heavy on the left.
And then boom, boom, boom. She dances around a defender, takes it to the end line, does exactly what Taryn, by reputation and inclination, does on the left. And I think those two wingers, at any point, all they need is a little bit of width and some space, and they can take on one or two defenders. And it happened consistently in the game. Is they would Brooklyn was like, okay, we're forced, especially for Amina, they were forced to not just send a fullback after that player. They would bring in a midfielder. They'd send out a center back. I think the center backs would often stay home, but they would add a midfielder to press Amina and make her give up the ball. And when she would do that, it would free up that 10 that would go into that kind of pocket forward space and just like look for a pass or whatever. Right. So just so much joy to be had in the attacking the front three. We haven't even talked about Mackenzie yet. So, okay, I talked for a long time. There. Anything else that you want to say about the big moments in the game, the goals, the whatever? You want to talk about the penalty?
I don't want to talk about the penalty. Let's do positive vibes.
No, we have to. We got to talk about it.
I mean, it was sloppy by our keeper. She made a great save coming out. And then I'm trying to recall it, but then she had a defender there. But when you think about, I did this as a research, line where when you're under stress, and in that moment, a keeper sits there a lot, and then suddenly, boom, here comes the play. Yeah. So that rush of cortisol.
Suddenly, I'm an outfield player. Yeah.
It narrows your field of vision. Yeah. So while we see three defenders there, she should have at least seen one.
Yeah.
And so I think, she's still young. I think what she needs to work on is trusting that back line. To be like, I made the save, I did the right thing. I need to go back and do what I'm supposed to do and trust that they've got me and that they're there even if I can't see them in that moment of stress, right? Like,
it's a goalkeeper who goes from, I just made a world-class save.
Yeah, huge save.
To, I'm suddenly an outfield player. Yeah. I've got to go do something. I got to put a leg in to get this ball. And you put that leg in and you don't realize that forward who just took the shot that you saved is right there and has already squeaked back into the picture, and you step in front of her. And
it's such a bang play.
It was. I don't think it was one of those I don't think she had a moment of the announcer said it. I took a note that it was a rush of blood, and it was, but it wasn't a rush of blood of like anger. It was a rush of blood of, like you said, I go into, I'm an outfield player. I suddenly have Terminator vision of I've got to be a defender now. And when you're a defender in that position, you always have to know where the other attackers are. It's okay. It was one of those bang plays. You're totally right. I want to shout out our friend Jody Ulkekel. Who came in and was just kicking ass.
Yeah.
Now, I also have to say, Jody did give away the ball that led to the penalty. But she had a couple really nice shots on goal after linking up with Emma on one down the left.
She was spicy out there.
She was super spicy.
Like, where have you been today?
Dude, I know. I agree.
Yeah.
And then she took a volley off of a Jenny Vetter cross really late. She got great contact, but she just kind of side-footed it over the post by about a foot. We
were in the supporter section watching that, so we had a good look at that take. And I just remember, I think I even yelled, that is the right take. Like, to take it out of the air like that and just miss it by a little bit. I mean, it would have been a lot at that point, right? Like, had it gone in, it was beautiful.
And I feel bad for her because she took a really bad Sydney Martinez, Brooklyn FC's goalkeeper.
Oh gosh, let's talk about that keeper.
Oh my gosh, she's so good.
Yeah.
That goalkeeper had a terrible goal kick though. And Jody takes down the ball in a great first touch, and then she turns to look for help from her fullback or her midfielder, and she kind of passes it to neither and passes it right to the other team, and then they go down on the break, and that was what led to the counter. But I digress because Jody looked really, really good out there, and she had some of that. She also I loved how she had her roots as a fullback playing the wing role was like really, really cool because there was a moment where she helped on a recovery where I was like, she had that instinct. She was reading like where some danger was coming, and she just darts into the middle of the field, recovers the ball, and I was like, super helpful to have a fullback minded winger on your team. Any other notes?
I mean, the keeper for Brooklyn
was fantastic.
She was interesting, right? From what I could see on the replay, they talked about this is historically what she's like, but she is aggressive off her line, which allowed Brooklyn to play really high, which I don't know if our team responded well to.
She was practically Manuel Neuer out there.
Yeah.
And what it really did is it neutralized completely the Mackenzie Weinert factor.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with it. And I don't think we adjusted well to that. So
no, we didn't.
This is where some of the tactical stuff, I think, we're a young team, we're getting the chemistry. The coach is kind of getting her feet under her too. And I think that probably needed a little tactical change.
I would have rather seen they were going over the top. She was offside 3 times. Amina was offside twice, trying to go over the top with fullbacks or our center back spraying the ball up the field.
Yeah.
Long balls. I would have rather seen her come back and link play.
Yeah.
Because Mackenzie has that in her bag. And when she does that, and then they do those little 1-2 weighted passes with fullbacks and stuff and wingers, it's like there's a lot we can do there. I would have rather seen us do that.
I agree.
Yeah, we went to that too many times, and I think they expected it with Sydney Martinez and her ability to play high. I couldn't believe how high she was playing.
So high. I was
crazy.
Like, yeah. The interim coach, I think, is a goalkeeper by training, right? So
could
there's
be.
been a focus there.
Taryn's goal, I have a note on this that's weird. It happened in all 3 of the games. And I did text the club about it because I was like,
I know what you're getting at.
You got to stop with this, okay?
Yep.
After the restart in both the Omaha game and the Central Vallefuego game, in the Central Vallefuego game, we conceded like 2 minutes after the restart. And I'm not going to blame it on this, but I'm going to tell you right now, as a fan, it was distracting. I can't even freaking imagine what it'd be like as a player. The announcer is waiting so damn long to say who scored a goal and who assisted it and doing the triplicate repeat of the name of, a goal by Andre Lewis. Meanwhile, Andre Lewis is trying to defend. At one point, they were announcing the freaking goal scorer when we had conceded a free kick in a dangerous area. And we did concede a goal against Central Vallefuego, and the announcer had barely stopped saying who scored the goal. It's very distracting.
I knew you were going to bring this up. And what's funny is in the Zephyr game with Reese, so it happened so late at the time they were doing it, and I was sitting in my seats in the stand on the left side.
Taking a free kick.
Well, and then they were still doing it as she's running up the left side, and all I could think is she's probably going, why am I hearing my name?
Why are they yelling my name, bro?
Am I in trouble? Is someone trying to stop me from running? And that is all I could think about, is that in her head she's going, WTF right
I hate it.
Yeah, it was extremely distracting.
Fix it.
Stop it.
USL Spokane. You cannot.
I need you to say it 3 times.
The ball restarts. Yeah, you cannot. You got to stop.
Or do it sooner, right? You just got to do it right away. So you just got to announce who's scoring, right?
We all know who scored.
By the time the ball is back in play, it better be damn near over with.
Yes.
Okay. Distracting to fans, distracting to players. Any questions I had about Taryn Reese's ability to beat defenders in this league and get to the end line to square the ball have been answered. We talked on the preview podcast with my friend Abby Carcio about what she looked like playing in Scandinavia. And there was a little bit of a, we'll see if she can still do that in this league. But I think it's like that classic form is temporary, class is permanent. She's got class out there. I mean, her and Amina Ekic, the 2 of them, dude, they're going to produce so many nightmares. And then you've got, if they can stop using her as Speedy Gonzalez to do the over-the-top thing, Mackenzie Weinert linking up with them, which she can do, I would much rather see a little bit of that. Let's keep it on the floor. That's just a thought I have. 7-11 wing play is going to be very much a thing for this club. 7-11 is a reference to the position of a left winger and a right winger and left winger, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So much attacking power. Okay, anything else you have notes on that you want to get into here?
How many international players?
3, 4?
No. Oh, there's tons.
There's a couple.
Wayne Balata, Julian Valorand, Molly Rouse, Thais Hayes.
4.
Thais, I want to see Thais get some minutes, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what she can add to that midfield.
So 4 international players.
Might even be more. I just probably can't remember them.
I don't know. We have the flags. We have the flags down there.
That's pretty. I'm like international call-ups, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I'm talking like international
call-ups. Riley
like
Tanner, Sydney Cummings, yeah.
So I mean, think about that in terms of the quality of the team. I know your love for the MLS, but like Sounders have like one international player really that's playing for Cameroon. And you have some teams that don't have any in the MLS that are playing. We have how many?
Yeah. I would say it matches what NWSL looks like.
I mean,
so if you're going with the women's league comparison.
Just a really quality team is the point, right?
Similar,
you know, it's a really quality team. The things that I've noted going to the game is just the quality of play.
Yeah.
The quality of play is so high and the technical ability is so high.
And the
it's very enjoyable to watch. I mean, it's a very fun, enjoyable to watch. If you like soccer, you're getting into soccer, or you started watching Premier League on Saturday morning or something, and you're like, hey, I'm going to dip my toe into this. Go watch a Zephyr game, because you're going to see quality play, tactics, technical ability, and international players that you can watch on the international breaks at times.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm very excited. I'm like you. This weekend, Sunday's attendance, you're at the end of a long weekend. That's probably a little bit understandable to some degree, but the quality of the team to me is top notch. It's really high.
And the parity in the league. I'm looking at all these other results. Nobody's beating up on anybody.
Yeah.
It's all been really close. And Tampa Bay Sun were like everybody's preseason favorite to come out and dominate because they have a lot of international players in their team. They have a lot of former collegiate players with a lot of pedigree. They have a lot of former NWSL players. So far they're not beating up on anybody. In fact, I believe they lost their first game, or maybe they drew it. But anyways, all the games are 1-1s, 1-0s, 2-1s.
Really
Yeah. So really exciting, man. Oh my gosh. Okay. More from this game. I think that the timing will improve on the link play. Balls played in behind the lines. There were just a couple moments that things looked really, really good. There was issues all game, though, for the team defending the two Brooklyn wingbacks. We talked about Lee Wiedemann wanting to play with wingbacks. Brooklyn was in kind of a 4-5-1 for this game. The last 20 minutes of the game drove me absolutely crazy. To your point, Scott, it was so entertaining, though. Again, in real time, emotionally, super pissed off and sad. Like, oh my God, we're not going to get all 3 points. But then I went back and I thought about it. I was like, I love that both those teams, all the sleepiness of the third game in a week with all these fans that are a little bit tired and groggy, everybody was on the edge of their seats for the last 20 minutes. It was like two gunslingers. It was totally crazy.
It was crazy, and it was good.
And it was open. Yeah. And open to it in like direct in a way that I don't like. Everybody knows how I feel about direct play. It's like you got to use it sometimes. But then I was like, I think the club would be embarrassed if I gave them the number of times that I subclipped where they gave the ball away. Just literally went
see those numbers,
pass to the other team.
Yeah.
Our center backs, our full backs in particular, were just kind of like spraying the ball all over the place. And
this is where data's nice, because you could feel it watching it live.
Yep.
And when I went back to watch I didn't get to watch the full 90, but when I went back to watch, I was like, oh, there's another one. Should I start tallying these?
Yeah.
Because I felt like great possession, gave it away. Great possession, gave it away. And there'd be a couple times it worked, and you could see what they were trying to slot it in.
Having said that, Jenny Vetter came on as a late sub.
Yep.
Jenny Vetter and Mackenzie Weiner are our two track stars, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's so clear. And Jenny was the player that before, I didn't get a chance to preview Mackenzie because she hadn't joined the club yet.
Right.
But the two of them are so freaking fast.
So fast.
Do you think that that's just game time together, Jamie?
I think so. And that's why I'm like, is it what's getting accomplished in practice where, you're like, you can only take on so much. And so did they shore up the back line a little bit and said, okay, let's make sure that's good. And then, okay, now we're going to move on to this, because I think it's maybe time, chemistry.
But also opportunity.
Yeah.
If you look at the heat map and where the Brooklyn players finished, they were so far flung. They were, at the second half in particular, they were inviting all these long balls. Now, I just don't think we were super crisp on that. We should have taken probably that extra pass, go through the midfield instead of fullbacks and center backs trying to go straight out to the wings.
Yeah.
But again, they were giving that to us. Jenny Vetter had created a chance almost immediately when she came on the pitch. She kept going down the right channel, and she had opportunities. We just didn't convert them. And as we all know, Sophie Braun did play. No, it wasn't. It was Alyssa Bourgeois played the ball directly to the feet of Mackenzie Weiner, and Allison, I can't remember, Pantuso, I think was her last name, just literally tackled her to the ground. Like, did the old armbar WWE move. And unless Mackenzie Weiner's a magician, she hit the ground so hard, so quickly, without even bending her legs. So she wasn't like taking a dive.
Right.
And the ref was right there. And the defender walked off kind of like, please don't call attention.
Oh, for sure.
I swear to God, I didn't
Don't
do
look
that.
at me. Don't even look
at me.
It feels like that's just a lack of bravery on the ref not wanting to make that call at the end of the game. And I'm like,
you're willing to make the other one?
Yeah, you got to make that call. It's like, I don't care if it's the last however many minutes. Like, you have to make that call.
Jessica Garziano takes a terrible penalty right down the middle, but Izzy had already dove to her right. You want to hear the stat line?
Let's hear it.
62% possession advantage for Spokane. Total shots, 12 for Brooklyn, 8 for Spokane. Both teams had 4 on target. Otherwise, statistically, very close. I looked under the hood. Tackles, interceptions, corners, duels, recoveries. Very evenly fought game. I do think I liked more of what I saw from Zephyr than I did from Brooklyn, but then again, it was Brooklyn's first game, so give them some leeway for that. We were possession-based attack. Brooklyn sent numbers on the counter, reflected in the heat map. They had 3 players staying home with the goalkeeper, sometimes no players because that goalkeeper was playing so high, and they would just, that front 6 was so high most of the game. They were doing a lot of overloads on the right with Samantha Rosette and the wing back. She would link up with the winger, Mackenzie George, and the central midfielder, Emily Yapel. Yapel, I think is how you pronounce that name. And they had things cooking out on the right. That was a real problem for us all game. That's where the goal came from. Let's talk about, anybody else notes on the Zephyr game before we move on? Good. Overall takeaways of where things stand in the table, the playoffs, etc. We'll start with Zephyr because we just finished talking about them. Anybody have any just thoughts and feelings about the overall vibe of the team? Scott, you mentioned that you like what you see and their entertaining side with a lot of quality. Jamie, you have any other notes about just the first couple games?
I like what I see. Yeah, it feels like it's improving. I mean, you can feel the talent that's out there, and that's what's exciting. And what's interesting, I was talking to Marley Canales' parents, who, shout out to them, diehards, have twice now driven up from Southern California to watch their daughter.
No, they were there?
Yeah, they were there.
Drove?
Yeah, they drove their Winnebago, their RV.
Fantastic.
Took 4 days.
Incredible.
And they would love to do the march with us, but they love to watch their daughter warm up, which I was like, these are awesome parents.
Yeah. Oh, wait. You know what? I think I knew that. First of all, shout out Rudy Canales, her father, who follows the Spokane Soccer Show. He's a coach himself.
Oh,
and
nice.
I did see photographic evidence that they are posted up with their RV, I think in Coeur d'Alene somewhere. So that's sick.
Oh, see, there you go. And what they said something about these players where they're like, I was like, oh, the talent's great. We were kind of having a little chat before, and they're like, yeah, and they all have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder coming into this. And I think that's what the league is like,
it is chip on shoulder league.
There has been talent in the women's game across the board, but not places to play.
Shout it.
And I think there's a lot of folks who maybe don't follow soccer enough who are like, the USL, why are there 2 leagues? And, we're having to explain they're on the same division as NWSL. Why, are they competing?
Those people can go fornicate themselves.
They can. We're here to educate, Benji.
I know, but I'm only.
He just goes right to go fornicate.
No, they can, because you're not educating the grumpy jerks out there that are like NWSL for life. Dude, get away from an attachment to owners or leagues.
100%.
Stop it.
Yeah.
This is a player first podcast. Think about all those players that were playing overseas under miserable conditions or not even getting a fucking chance to play in the United States. Sorry, I get upset about this topic.
Or they were...
Because there are some real trolls out there on Discord and on Reddit right now that are like, I won't even go support this team.
Yeah, well, those can fornicate themselves for sure. But if you look at a player like Marley...
See what I did there?
It's good.
You took it. You're just a pot stirrer. That's all you are.
He's a pot stirrer.
But if you look at a player like Marley, I mean, these are players that get picked up by NWSL teams or get picked up by big teams.
She played for San Diego Wave with Alex Morgan.
But there's just not room, right? I mean, it becomes a situation where there's so much talent, and just because maybe you didn't show enough in that, like Marley's a great example of a phenomenal college player.
Yeah.
She's a bulldog out there. I don't know what the right position is for her, but she's fantastic.
Well, it's not just as you all know, it's not just about pure talent. You can have a really talented player without the right connections or in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they're never going to get a shot.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the case on any level in any men's, women's, any soccer.
Totally.
But when you have the opportunity to play, all of a sudden you're going to get players that
you shine.
You're going to get an opportunity to showcase, and you're going to get an opportunity to play and maybe move up, maybe stay here. Who knows? Right. Because this might be a great opportunity. But the pool is much larger, right?
Exactly.
And you don't have to have all those connections.
Yeah, there's more pie, right?
Yes,
The pie is bigger. And I what I hope for the players here isn't to be seen as a stepping stone to something else, but it's seen as this is a great place to play, that they're going to have the right support here in the community with the team. And, I think that's what's happening. And if they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder to prove that, more power to them. And I think we're going to see excellent play because of that.
I can't. The other thing that happens for me, I do have my emotional intensity watching the games, and then I have my intellectual moment afterwards. My emotional reaction initially when they scored the penalty, and a Brooklyn player came over and just started screaming at the top of her lungs. I was like, I hate you. And then afterwards, I was kind of like, yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
I kind of love it.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time about cheering against the teams because I know that those teams are all comprised of these players with chips on their shoulders. So there is a little bit of a vibe of, I don't know if you want to call it quite camaraderie between the players on all these teams, but it's going to take a minute for things to settle into the typical entrenched tribalism of sports. Because right now,
and I don't think the women's game is as fraught with that.
Thank
We've had
God.
some conversation about that with folks who've only followed the men's game, where it is very tribalistic. And you have your team and screw everyone else. And I think because the women's side, and I can say this as someone who, my first televised game I could really watch was the 99 World Cup. And, we didn't have a lot of opportunity to watch women's soccer. So you kind of rooted for everyone you could.
Yep.
Even this year in the Olympics, the U.S. was playing Brazil in the final. I wouldn't have been upset if Marta got a gold medal. Like, I just would celebrate that as much as I wanted the U.S. team to win.
That would have been an amazing outcome.
Yeah. So I am Zephyr for life. Let's go. Screw everyone else on game day. But after the game ends, like, I'm all about supporting and rooting and talking up the players that we see on these teams.
Don't you think that that's like more pure sport?
I do.
Right? Versus the commercialized, I need to promote myself side, all that.
And I think it's true love of the game, right? And that's why, when I bring people to games who haven't watched much, and they ask about flopping, and I'm like, oh, you'll see that in the men's game because they've had the privilege to be able to flop and still have a career. The women's side did not have that privilege.
Yeah, it's become a tactical move in the men's game. Oh, for sure.
And
certain leagues are worse than others, where it's a tactical move to break up the momentum of the game, but it's boring.
Yeah, the women's side's like, we can't do that. So I think we're going to see that with this league, and it's going to be excellent.
I am looking up a player's name. It's why I'm on my phone right now. Because you're
player
right.
On our team or their team?
No, their team. The lone pivot on their team was so fantastic that I have to make sure that I shout her out. Samantha Kroger, number 3. Holy cow. Every time that player is the lone pivot got the ball, and typically it was from, a lot of times it was from the goalkeeper, as we talked about, because she was playing so high. And she'd get that ball in the half space and take it on a half turn in the midfield. I was just immediately terrified. She was so good. So shout out to her. I've mentioned a couple other players from their team that had a really good game, but also you mentioned Marley. Marley was pulling the strings and a lot of the attacking play.
Quarterbacking something.
She was. And so she showed some of that ability to be a 6, 8, or 10. Yeah. She really loved that. I also want to shout out Alyssa Bourgeois. She had a moment where she had 3 really, really important defensive actions in the course of like 10 seconds. She stepped in front, got a standing tackle of those wingers that were really causing a lot of harm. And then she immediately went to ground and then popped back up and did it again. And then she pressured the player until they kicked the ball out over the end line and we got a goal kick. So in general, Alyssa Bourgeois had a great game too. So I could go over the players one at a time, but anyways.
I know, sorry. You were trying to wrap up and here I go again.
Oh, no. It's great. This is what I want to do. I just want to do broad strokes about the
White
team.
Snake.
Meanwhile, I do have a note. We just need to be patient. It's going to take some time for all of these teams. This is their second competitive game together. The announcer was great, by the way. I really liked her. British accent.
Yeah, British E. I don't know.
British-ish. Yeah, totally. British-ish. Yeah, she was great. And she mentioned these teams, they're forming an identity and they've played against one another until the last couple of weeks. And for Brooklyn, this is their first game ever. So shout out Brooklyn FC too.
New York City came to Spokane.
It's true.
To play.
My daughter couldn't believe it.
It's incredible.
She goes, "Did you just say Brooklyn, Dad?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You mean Brooklyn, New York?"
Not
not Brooklyn, Nebraska. I was going to say Nebraska.
It's something about Nebraska.
Oh, that's so great. All right, we don't need to talk about Velocity. We talked about enough about Velocity on this podcast. But next up, let's preview what's next. Saturday, we have another back-to-back doubleheader this weekend.
September Soccer Month. This is September Soccer Month.
We have to breathe it all in, folks. Yeah. Saturday, Velocity hosts South Georgia Tormenta at 6 p.m. The last one was a 3-3 thriller in Statesboro. So big points available. They are I think in 7th or 8th in the I think they're 8th. So we need to put our foot down and make sure we don't give them any points. And then Sunday, Zephyr FC host top of the table Carolina Ascent at 6 p.m. Now, when I say top of the table, I want to be really clear. The goal differential in these games has all been like 1 goal.
Right.
I don't think anybody's put more than 2 past anybody. So, yeah, can't wait to go back to one stadium, my second home.
Yeah. Hey, and also follow 509 Syndicate because I got to do the logo thing this week. So I mean, it was like a big deal for me.
Yeah, you're going to see them in a great outfit.
Follow the 509 Syndicate.
The best outfit ever.
Yeah.
Sign up to be a member of the 509 Syndicate.
Yeah.
Go to the509syndicate.com. South Hill FC plays their soccer at the South Hill Soccer Complex.
46 and Regal.
46th and Regal, Sundays at 3 p.m.
Always.
Okay.
And at sign up, there's going to be a TIFO coming.
Okay.
Yes. There's a TIFO coming.
Oh, yeah. And I always had a question for you guys.
Involved.
I just had a question for you guys. Do you guys get paid by the club?
Yeah, exactly. $0.
$0. And can anyone join 509?
They can.
It's not exclusive?
It's not
You can actually go down there?
You can go down there. You can see the players after the game and get your autographs with them and hang out.
I went down there I go down occasionally just, hang out. But I went out for the Omaha game and it's a ton of fun.
It is a ton of fun. It's a different experience.
Totally
Are you
different
going to see tactics down there? No. But are you going to get vibes and have
Big
a
vibes.
good time? Yes.
Great time.
I would like to volunteer with the Spokane Soccer Show and or my abilities to make media, do a piece, a story, a something, whether it's a podcast, whatever we do with Alex and our Cappy, who we mentioned earlier, Andres, and the band, because they deserve so much freaking love. Can you name some more names? Because I don't want to forget anybody.
Liz on the drums, Martine on the drums, Tim, he's our animal, right? If you're thinking Muppets, he's the guy just literally does not stop
Just
on the
met
drums.
Tim. Tim came up.
Alex is the trumpet.
Yep. Okay.
So that's where you're getting that sound from, and then a couple of capos in there
and Cody and Scott and lots of people are always and Siri are always waving.
Yes. So we have sort of noisemakery thing, so anyone can kind of get down there and hit the cymbals. Matt Baker as well, I think, is the guy that brought the cymbals. I was like, yeah, cymbals, nice touch.
Shout out, Matt.
I'm trying to think, am I forgetting someone?
I'm sure we will, but we will continue to shout out the 509 Syndicate and all the hard work that goes into supporting these clubs. And yes, these are thoroughly and completely independent enterprises that have no official affiliation with anything except for ourselves and our own energy and time and resource.
Money.
Yes.
It's our money, not anyone else's.
Yep. There you go. That is it for the show. Thank you to my guests, Jamie Bartlett and Scott Linklater. We will see you at One Stadium for another doubleheader weekend. Conserve your energy, folks, because you're going to need to be loud this weekend.
Let's go.
Let's go.